Hello, how are you doing today?
Good, Gefest. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good as well. Everything's alright. Well, I think we can start with the form first. The one you sent me. Is it sounds good with you?
Yeah, that sounds fine with me.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah, okay, let's start there. Yeah, so what you mentioned there so far is, yeah, like you said, your goals is try to come up with overtime strategies, and this is mostly for your team, if I'm not mistaken. Is it correct? Or,
this was kind of a general idea too. I mean, at the point where I'm at, I think most of my teams, even in ranked, like communicate heavily with each other. So it's not like we didn't enact certain plans, like as a team, even in the games I sent you. But it might help. It would of course help my team too. I just find that it probably also helped me in ranked as well,
hmm.
given the amount of communication that's happening these days.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So it's mostly just overtime for the most part, you think? And well, is there maybe any specific composition you typically play, you struggle with, just knowing what to do, maybe sort of matchups, anything? Or yeah, just tell me everything, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's for me. It's usually, and I find this happens a lot on the convergence maps in particular, where in the event where like I mean, there's of course stuff that goes wrong too in the event that like leads up to both teams pushing third point. But most of the time, I find that like a minute of overtime, like especially when you end with like 0 seconds on the clock, it usually means that you just like I feel like I can't play certain characters. Sometimes I'm wondering whether it's better to save, like to tell my team like to just stack 6 ults and like make sure we win a singular fight rather than like trying to win every fight. Just because I feel like that's kind of the case in overtime, where I mean, once it's begun, all you need to do is win a fight. So sometimes I'm just like wondering if it's better to stack alts in that way or to like if there's better ways to fight plan around the time, um kind of like when I guess sometimes when it's better to just like prepare for the next fight, is something that I feel like I really struggle with in overtime, especially so on like the defense side of it. On attack, of course, I feel like you have to do everything you can to win every fight, and attack's a little bit simpler. But even on attack, I feel like there's some characters that you can or cannot pick just due to the time restrictions. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, all of that makes sense, I would say. Yeah, we can talk about a few ideas then. Maybe especially through the lens of the examples. If you have any games saved, just something what we can discuss, just what we can do there during the overtime, maybe come up with a few things. Maybe especially where you think it's been a little bit problematic to understand what to do. Maybe we can start there, basically, and should be all right. And
Yeah.
mhm,
All I was gonna say is the both codes that I sent you were both games that went into overtime.
yes,
So that's why felt like they were relevant, just because it's there's of course stuff that I feel like could be worked on before it reached overtime, but I guess kind of like deciding like how I'm going to adapt to. I mean, there's a reason both teams pushed it to the ending point, so like trying to figure out how I can adapt to like this situation. I feel like will help a lot.
that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, let's talk about that then. Yeah, I see the codes there too. Let me see if there's anything else to mention so far too. You also said that I think that I need to work on my movement the most as a player. Might understand when and where to position his abilities and the general tempo of the game, but I find that I still struggle to mindfully seek out better spots so that my playstyle remains effective and efficient. I also find that sometimes I play too passively, for my current level, or that heavy communication drastically affects my gameplay. All right. So, is there anything else what you would like to add? Maybe elaborate on all of that, what you mentioned there too, or
Yeah, yeah, I can elaborate on that. I think a lot of the times I will start off in like what is considered a good position, and this especially happens on payload maps where I'm either trying to uh, get a better angle or trying to move up with the payload or back with the payload as like we're playing defense. And sometimes I feel like what happens is even though I'm moving to the right spot or when like I'm fighting for space, I just am either sometimes I'm moving too much, right? My aim suffers. Sometimes I'm moving realistically not enough. I'm not even I still haven't quite figured out like the idea of strafing in general and kind of like how it affects my aim as well as other people's aims. Um but I guess I just feel like there's sometimes where like if I just had better movement, I just wouldn't die. It's not that I'm moving into like terrible positions. I just sometimes I feel like I'm moving rather predictably for like to the enemy, that type of thing. And then to elaborate on the communication side of things, the more I find that I have to communicate with my team to win the game, the more I find that like I start autopiloting kind of where I'm no longer thinking about like what I need to do specifically on like my character, and I'm worrying too much about like what we need to do as a team.
that makes sense. That's also pretty common. Well, something to start with the movement, yeah, 100%. With when you start doing something, it's rather needs to be more unpredictable for the enemy, but at the same time, you're making it easy for you to aim. Yep, just finding the ways to do so. In this game, it's not as complicated, I would say, as let's say we compare it to Overwatch, for example. But yeah, still, there's some ways where you can solve the enemy aim. You have the movement abilities, something what you need to think about, and communication wise, what I mentioned there too. Well, a lot of the times this may be the case. Obviously, I we don't have the communication today. Maybe if you have this later, we can also go with that. That would be real nice. But most of the communication, why that might be the case as well. First off, there might be too many things you're trying to communicate with your team. That's one. Number two is maybe when you trying to communicate all of that information, are you sort of thinking about what your team will be doing? You're kind of trying to micromanage someone, but you rather need to focus on just telling your team what you're gonna do and when you're gonna do that and where. That's it. Just answering three questions. At the end of the day, you want to keep it simple. Let's put it this way. You can still think about what your teammates do, but most of your communication should be more dedicated towards okay, what I can do or how you can help your team to do something. But we can break it down a little bit more as well because it's understandable. A lot of the times, what I've seen from people as well, when they heavily rely on the comms, they sort of like freeze for a second, you just don't even move anywhere, and maybe they could be at the bad spot, maybe they could be doing something else, right? So maybe it's you, maybe it's just something else, but yeah, there's might be a lot of the layers into it, but that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, yeah. All right. Is there anything else what you'd like to add, maybe, or?
Um, Not too much that I can think of. I think in general, I just wasn't necessarily sure. Like even I wasn't even necessarily sure like how today might go. So I just figured that for a first session, like it'd be good to just mention the general stuff that I struggle with. A lot of times I feel like there is just like one key thing that I'm missing between like my current level and the next step up. and I don't know if that's the case, but a lot of there is a lot of times where like I feel like I'm just like missing like one key piece of information, and I'm just not sure what it is yet.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Just wanted to ask, can you hear me just fine, or are there any problems with the sound?
You're cutting out a little bit, but I think that's just a delay
Yeah,
between
maybe.
the distance that we
Yeah,
have from each other.
yeah.
Like,
Let me just
I
try
don't think
to.
I don't think you're actually cutting out. It's like just like a 2 or 3 second delay. Yeah.
Let me try to readjust a little. I will try to. I'm just gonna get back to the call. I think I can switch the server. Just give me 1 second. I will start the Discord as well. This may help because I see
Okay.
that the ping is a little bit high indeed. Okay, just give me 1 second. I will be back. All right, let's check now. What about now? Is it better?
It sounds better.
It's
If it,
it
if,
sounds better.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I can also just like I know I can region override the server location
Oh,
too if
yeah, I also thought of that. It seems that the ping says it's okay. It's on green at the moment, not on yellow as it been before. I just yeah, that's okay. That's okay. If there are gonna be any difficulties, we can do that, but just let me know. Is it sounds good?
okay. Yeah, it sounds better.
Okay, perfect. All right, so movement, communication, that makes sense. Yeah, is there anything else or that's about it?
I
Yeah,
think
you
that's what I can
mentioned.
think of at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Current rank Celestial 1, that's good. And also playing both strategist and off healers and duelist hit scan. Okay, can you exactly tell me what are the characters you run for the most part at the moment?
For the moment, the characters I run the most are Gambit, Invis, Mantis, Jeff under the support pool,
Mhm.
and then under the duelist pool I run Phoenix, uh, Hella, and Storm the most.
Makes sense. That's it, yeah. Those characters, that's about it.
Yeah, I can like of course play some of the others, but out of those are for sure the characters I play the most.
Yeah, I wouldn't say you need more because if you have too many, then you have to learn more micros, and realistically, you don't need to. I a lot of the times even tell people just try to lean towards one role a little bit more if possible, most of your playtime. But it's all up to you, all up to what you enjoy the most because it's understandable that sometimes we have to adjust to the team comp a little bit, but yeah, just still make sure that you run your main role for the most part, right? If we're talking about getting in a team, playing as a team player, right? There's usually no player which is sort of really good on the DPS and really good on support at the same time. I'm also talking back in Overwatch, right? There were always like separations with the roles because to be really proficient in the role, you need to put in the time. And if I'm putting in the time and run role, then I'm more proficient basically. So this is something what I can think about too, but that's all right. I
Yeah.
would say you probably don't need to add too more characters at the moment. Okay,
It's pretty rare that I get to play duelist anyways, because of just how many people like that role regardless. So 80 to 90% of the time I'm playing support.
yeah,
Uh,
I figured. Yeah, exactly. Remember that it's been mostly support for us. Okay, so that's yeah, so this is good. Playing on PC, also playtime average is good. We also got the other things. Well, long-term goals is to improve with the characters that are interesting to me to play. Yeah, that makes sense. What you mentioned there. And in terms of expectations, just learning more over time, strategies and structure. Yeah, that's all good. That's all good. You can maybe discuss whatever you like more, like we said, the stuff about movement, the stuff about communication. But let's start with overtime. First of all, yeah, maybe if you would like to, and if we have time for anything else, let's go over that. But yeah, just one step at a time, probably. This should be better.
Huh,
All right.
sounds good.
Okay. Let's take a look. I'm gonna screen share. Yeah, we're starting with those two games over here. Yeah, can you see the stream? Does it work?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, perfect. So this game here and the second one is gonna be, yeah, I see that. Okay, let's start with this here. So we're talking about, yeah, let's say, okay, so this is the rounds are finished. Well, just
You're fine. Yeah, my game crashed the other day too. The same thing.
that's okay. And
Uh,
sometimes it happens, just because of the, I don't know whatsoever. Maybe it's you start the
I think it's the
replay.
map. Yeah,
Yeah, that's okay. All
there's a
right.
bunch of stuff underneath the maps that like I know that museum crashes for a ton of people when they try to like view it. There's a bunch of stuff under Central Park as well, so that might be it.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. It's probably just like that. Yeah, I just see it. I don't know. It's pretty random for me. It depends on situation, I guess. Okay. Yeah, the stream is working. Should be working for you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Let's move to the Central Park. Yeah, so we pretty much skip the attack, the defense. Or do you have any questions about those parts as well?
Maybe later, but definitely wanted to focus on the overtime.
Yeah. Sounds good. All right, let's go forward. Yeah, we got this game, and yeah, I think I've just pressed the space bar. Okay, here we go. And you are, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, so Foxfire, yeah, over here. Okay, should be fine. And we are, yeah, let's just say, okay, let's see what's gonna happen later as well. Just wonder, yeah, hopefully it's not gonna crash. Right, yeah, so this is, yeah, I'll just maybe start somewhere over here where you guys been choosing the characters and make the rotations too. So we are on this, yeah, we are gonna be attacking. Well, are you playing in a solo queue here, or do you have a friends with you, or yeah, this sort of stack here going on, or
I'm queued with Kibbles, the Namor player.
yeah. So I recognize it's from the Ghost Academy as well. All right. So what do you would say about this attack overall? What do you guys struggle with, if there's anything, maybe something major?
Something that we struggled with was particularly what to walk out on. He was on Moon Knight at some portions of the game, but we decided inevitably against playing the Moon Knight. Just because we felt like we'd just be giving them a support alt, and we didn't have time for like a second fight if like we just fed into a second support alt.
Hmm.
Um, so we decided to like commit to like Hella and Namor here instead, which I feel like helped us on our attack here, but didn't really help us on like our defense. Uh, the other thing too was that I was not sure, given the amount of time, how aggressively I should be playing the neutral to try to build an alt like Gambits. Um, Most of the time, like I'd play pretty normally, but I felt like I was pressed. I was like pressed to try to be as aggressive as possible because I had to outrace their opposing Gambit.
Yeah, that makes
Um,
sense. Yeah. Yeah, anything else?
uh, I also was struggling with knowing when to alt myself. I think most of the time in non-overtime situations, I would just send it. I would just send it as soon as I get it on Gambit. Like typically, like as soon as the fight's about to start. But I do remember that um, in some cases, it felt like if I wasn't saving it to match specifically, then we were guaranteed to lose a fight if I didn't match something with it instead of just sending it aggressively. But I think those are like the main three things
Hmm.
going on in my head.
Okay. Okay. Now that sounds reasonable. That sounds reasonable. It seems like you guys also have less time in the bank here. So I'm also curious: is there anything what you typically communicating your team with? You mentioned that you're communicating quite a lot. So what do you typically do in those cases like that? With the time, what you have now, so to speak.
So on attack, I was just communicating to our Mantis and to Eclipse that we needed to save um like those two alts as much as we possibly could, like even if deaths happened. Just so that like we could have defensive alts when they inevitably went for like a full on like team fight. And then on defense, I was trying to communicate with Kibbles and our Elsa about like being able to like force like winning engagements despite like knowing that they had like certain alts up. So for instance, a lot of the times I was trying to specifically combine Elsa or Namor alt with Gambit alt to try to like force a quick win on point, or to like force the C9, because it was like it had like the minimal amount of time, like once overtime started. I also was trying to wait on alts until like the timer had dropped low enough. So because they had 3 minutes and 1 second on defense, I tried telling my team that we should wait until like the timer is closer to like getting closer to 0 seconds to like fully invest in alts. Like maybe send one or two here and there, but like to like fully invest in like a team fight, wait until like the timer drops closer to 0.
That makes sense. And so this strategy you described, the building six ultimates so far, it's been mostly done when attack, defense, or a little bit of both.
Mostly on defense.
Mostly on
On
defense.
Yeah, on attack, I found that we just needed to have we just needed to like quickly use like one ultimate to, I mean, maintain like the tempo and like
Yes.
try to keep them staggered with like the increased overtime deaths, because I think it's something like what 4 or 5 seconds of increased death timer while overtime's happening. So we're just trying to keep them as staggered as much as we possibly could.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, so most of the time that's gonna be a really good thought process, I would say, when you trying to get a little bit ahead, especially with the lower time in the bank. You generally speaking looking for two things. It's looking for more aggressive plays, in my opinion, if they have more time, because you at the end of the day, if you're the one establishing the tempo, if you win the first fight, this goes along to winning probably the second, third fight afterwards. So it's really nice if you can have this constant tempo and snowball going. Let's put it this way. So investing in the ultimates can be okay. You don't have to hold on those too much. But with defense, yes, it can be more reliable. But this one, it depends. It depends on how fast you pushed and who has been first attacking. Yeah, if you're the one first attacking, which we usually prefer, in my opinion, I usually prefer to be attacking first because it kind of set the tempo in a way. And then afterwards you can decide, come up with the strategy of how do we defend so we can burn the time. Yeah, so first of all, we can burn the time, but then also come up with the strategy so they will not be able to make it through towards where we ended. Let's put it this way. But it really depends on who's attacking and the defending then first. Of course, anyway, the most important things are still our performance, what are we doing, yeah, are we supporting the right members, are we also taking the positions ourselves, but generally speaking, to just be able to set the tempo, it's real nice to look for riskier plays if possible. In my opinion, maybe look for something creative to just set the tempo. Let's put it this way. So I'm just gonna write down, yeah, let's say attack, yeah. This is gonna be usually, I'll just say something like more risk in play, but then there are multiple ways for you to do that. You can be done through positioning, it can be done also by using the, in a way, your abilities, your cooldowns. But yeah, anyway, it seems like you guys started with more of a normal approach, a slow approach. Let's just walk main, let's see how that goes for you. Anyway, and here you just have to be really mindful though. It's so important for you to win this first fight, because if you don't, then the enemy team sort of will have the tempo. That's my take usually. For that reason, in this low time banks here, the 1 minute, you have time to do 2 fights. So in theory, I want you to come up with the first fight, which is really fast, if possible, so we have a chance to contest second time. You know? So this is,
Okay.
so let's just put it this way. Thinking about phrasing it. Okay. If we do not have too much time, and also generally speaking, just attacking, it can be good idea to attack faster. Yeah, more riskier place. That's why you maybe can communicate with a strange, something like, okay, let's maybe even do the TP or something, and then after that you guys can swap to the dive characters, yeah, and then have this second fight afterwards. Maybe there's can be something else, but just separating it on 2 fights can be quite good most of the time, but you can also take the slow approach, but then you gotta know what you play for. Yeah, you gotta know, okay, then if we really commit, if it's past, the 30 seconds are gone already. Yeah, we're committing like past the next 30 seconds here. Then probably we only have this one fight, so you have to be really, really careful. If somebody gonna get picked, then you guys more likely to lose this entire game. But yeah, well, you still have time to contest, obviously, but yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, you guys gonna get the picks here afterwards. Yeah, the kibbles here, they got an angle. And see, this is what I mean. If it's possible for you to set up the picks like that, which is more likely to be done if you have more interesting positions in play, then this is really nice. If you guys able to set the tempo with pick like that early, that's gonna be in your favor. You set up the tempo, you can push. With a lower time bank, why not? You can be just at this point, if you got the pick, just try to find the best time for you to start taking space a little bit more, step by step. You have the ultimate here. I would say why not? Securing the space, yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, they also might have some ultimates to answer with exactly the support one, the invis one. Maybe the Gambit one you might expect to, just because of how the fight's been. But that's okay. We secured the space here. They're trying to do the TP. It's fine. Yep, taking the slide off angle here away from the point is gonna be alright. Yeah, you usually want to give them a dilemma, so they either contest you or the point, so it's a good choice if you're not on the point here at any time.
Yeah, I figured it's so close to capping that if they ever...
Yeah, you just don't want to... Yeah, you want to come up with something else to do, probably, if this is happening here. Alright, so we see the Moon Knight. Well, we start... Well, first off, this ultimate house here, and then we... Yeah, what's gonna damage us eventually? It's gonna be... Oh, I see. Alright. Yeah, what do you think I should be doing with your positioning here? What's the best play at the moment?
I think probably I should have just headed back up the ramp. I think I was a little bit focused too much on like avoiding a Moon Knight ult that wasn't
Mm-hmm.
even realistically hitting
Yeah,
me.
that was...
And I could have just easily backed up on the ramp rather than closer to the enemy team. I don't think I recognized that there was Gambit behind, like that the enemy Gambit had
Mm-hmm.
made it back by this point. Um, so just kind of, I mean, I kind of just put myself like in the open for like all 3 of them because there's Invis that's like around there that's gonna look at me. Gambit's behind me, and there I know there was somebody up top too. I think it's Spidey. But if I had just backed up the ramp, I would have been like kind of safe from like the rest of the members. I just found that I was like so focused on like trying to force them off the point that I like didn't consider that like I can just be playing off of the point here. Like we still have plenty of time to technically.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of the two mistakes here, right? You need to keep in mind the other guys who may push you, so you don't want to be exposed to them. Now we're exposed to two people, to two potential angles, and the other thing is you don't have to walk on the point. Just let anyone else to do that. Even yeah, I would say just anyone with high sustain is usually going to be doing that. Your Doctor Strange still on the point, that's fine. Let them be there. Just don't force this here. Keep the angles going. You can still sustain this afterwards. Your team did that though, yeah? But just be really careful. You have to keep the sweats in mind. But that was a good idea initially where we're playing away from the objective. Yeah, this way you give them a dilemma even though they can test you. Now, the important part of it is just keep the tempo up. And if you have the overtime here, then what should you be doing, you think? In general. Yeah, like we said, we need to keep the tempo up. What are the ways? What's the right choice to do? What's the right play?
I think that we do actively need to like. I think this is the wrong idea in non-overtime situations, but sometimes I feel like we actively need to push like at least on this map like close to the like almost to like the gate up there, like just looking for like continuous staggers, looking to like apply as much pressure as possible. But I think it's hard to do that because you have to I feel like you have to leave at least one person on the cart. If you don't leave
Yes,
one
okay.
person on the cart, Spidey just walks walks back here and that's the end of the game.
True.
Um so I think it's hard. I'm, honestly I'm not even sure like if that's like the right option. It also just doesn't feel like it's like the correct option to just have like three people sit on cart too, because then you're just giving the enemy team time.
Yeah, exactly. Fundamentally, you just need to find the ways to play faster in a way. Yeah, you need to play start coming up with the ways where, like I said, you get the staggers, you get more positions and more time in your bank, and just they are gonna be more riskier plays sometimes too. But it's definitely not this. If we just wait for the enemy team to come, it's gonna be complicated. I think you need and because you're the support with high mobility too. I think you should be the one potentially pushing taking space. Yes, you also have Mantis to maybe do something on the off angles, but in general, if you see everybody stacked in here, then it shouldn't happen in the first place anyway. This is a really bad idea, right? You should be already searching for anyone. Let's say you notice this guy suddenly. Okay, perfect. This is something what I can punish. Maybe there's gonna be someone else out of position. Perfect. That is something I can punish. If not, if we're not punishing them, then at least we're thinking about trying to set up the better positions. Yeah, let's put it this way. Because there are two ways of playing, like I'm saying, fast or slow in terms of the tempo. You thinking about playing fast as sort of using an advantage, whatever you got. That's how I usually explain that. And playing slow is all about getting an advantage. So if I'm using an advantage after you won the first point, it usually should transition to pressing W taking space in a way. You should just set up the next fight ahead and make it easy. Yeah, maybe you get the staggers, yes, but at least we can come up with better angles too. Yeah, let's maybe think where the fight will be in Syria. What do you would say?
I think we would at least want a fight near the second bridge, um, like closer to like where the main building is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just because it gives us at least room to fall back to the point. I think specifically at that spot, there's just a lot of places that we know exactly where they'll be coming from. We'll be understand if they're trying to go like fully around on like the side path there. to like where like Spidey's at, that the like small like downward stair path will understand if they're trying to go that way. And there's like a couple of choke points that we can make sure to like utilize like Namor and Elsa in, at least for us. I do think though that I do also think though that because we're mainly on a poke composition, that it's probably just better for us to like control a certain portion of space first. And maybe that, I guess it's hard for poke to play fast. I feel like that's just like maybe just a general thing about poke, is that it's kind of hard to play hella fast. It's kind of hard to play no more fast.
Let's put it this way. It
Uh,
just depends on what you mean by playing fast, playing slow. The way I phrase it, so it makes it easy, it's pretty universal. That's how I'm thinking it. Playing fast is more about you using an advantage, and it may translate into doing multiple things. Yeah, it's usually because you playing fast. Let's say now you're able to play fast in a way, so you take more valuable space. You're using that advantage, whatever you got because of the first fight one, right? But the way you use that advantage is different for every composition. Yeah, with a brawl, you run in face to face. With the poke, we can get slightly better sightlines, right? And if you get slightly better sightlines, and you mentioned a lot of things there, good things already. You can scout people. That's what you need. You can also poke out more important angles, so they will not be able to contest you, right? But the thing about it is you're not being too separate too. Yeah, you're not like trying to flank too much. You still can do it in relatively the same space where you expect the fight to be, and maybe help the card to be dealt with if something happens, but you do it from slightly better positions. You sort of get those power spots in a way. And I would say, just regardless of the overtime strategy is that or not, it should be somehow done in a way, especially with your compositions, which is relying on poke. You're like, how do you win? Yeah, poke compositions win with poking, right? And can you poke out the enemy from where you are before the fight starts, right? Is it even possible? You see what I mean? Yeah.
no.
You just need, yeah, you need to come up with something different. You need to try to think, especially the Namor, Hala, maybe you less over priority in terms of the poking from low range, but still, we can be the one enabling aggression if this happens to be on the angle once they start working somewhere. Still, regardless, if my team is not on the card, uh, well, all of them on the card, then we can come up with somewhere where we walk in at least. Maybe try to scout. You can scout for a second. Okay, perfect. I know where everybody is coming from, so you can adjust later. But it's definitely not gonna be too good. Yeah, like we said, if you're on attacking side, you need to like keep up the tempo going. I don't know if you did you actually have playtime in Overwatch or you didn't? Can you remind me?
Not not really. My playtime with Overwatch was like at the very beginning of it, and it was not too lengthy. I have not played many shooters out of Marvel Rivals.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, well, that's all good. Anyway, again, just kind of explain the ideas. There are some maps where and it's really similar to this as well. The way the game mode works, you sort of capture the point like this, and then afterwards, what happens a lot of the times, all the teams usually after the capturing this point, they will be taking the space just for the purpose of clearing the space and also maybe setting up the next fight. But what is really important to know is that sometimes you're able to even push past the second checkpoint in some cases with some maps. They have been just really long spawn. Like in this game, yeah, the spawn seems that just where you started with, it's a little bit closer, so maybe you don't push like past the gates here, but at least towards the gates can be possible, in my opinion. Just something to think about. Yeah, maybe you can also do this. And by the way, it's kind of more unpredictable way for the enemy. They will not expect a lot of the times that too, but yeah, you always have to think about the sidelines though. Okay, does all of it make sense, or any
Yeah,
questions?
I think that makes sense. Like looking at this again, I guess I just not sure like whether or not I should be expressing to my team like how much we should invest if we're pushed up there. Right, I think like a lot of the times what I see in normal gameplay is people will push up to the gates up there and then they'll use an ult to like secure a kill.
Yeah,
And like they'll get the kill, but then that person walks back 10 seconds later and
yeah. There's no
and
need.
they're,
Yeah.
they're they're still next to the spawn. But I don't know if like the death timers and like overtime like give that greater value or not.
You know,
Just because they're
the
crazier.
best value with the ultimate is you using that once there's a critical moment, once they start contesting the card. So in theory, if I use the ultimate here at A, or use it at B, it's better to use it at A in theory, if because I can buy more time, because this guy's still walking. Yeah, I can maybe get a kill at B, but like I said, they're gonna respawn, and then what? Well, card, well, maybe it's getting pushed, but it's not gonna be pushed as much compared to if we allow these guys to walk. It takes a lot of time, and then they take the fight. We use the ultimate, we win the fight because we've done the ultimate. And also it takes time to get the staggers, so additional time in the bank. In the meantime, the card is moving, so that's really nice. Usually just allowing them to get closer to the objective is not a bad idea, but just pushing without the ultimate is possible too. Yeah, you just don't invest it. You just go in and wait until there's gonna be even tempo in a way. You guys gonna both teams sort of have equal power, and then you will try to come up with ultimate around the objective, generally speaking, if possible. Because sometimes there will be situations where it's not possible to set up around the objective. Yeah, maybe we have to give up the space, maybe you have to push up a little bit, but this is more nuance. Anyway, if you can delay
Okay.
it, then this is nice, but pushing without the ultimate is also something what should be done together. So you can also maybe build it faster, who knows, just a little bit extra shots before the fight starts, a little bit extra support. All of that is nice, because now we're kind of allowing partially the enemy team to fully regroup, and our Elsa gets a pick here, which is real nice. We also invest in the ultimate to just keep up the tempo here in a way. Well, that's good, so you guys will be able to push more further, right? More likely to do that. The enemy team will not stabilize too much, so yes, we push past towards the gates. Not sure about this here. Are they able to stabilize too much based off the all of it here? But yeah, anyway, you just have to answer accordingly to who has an advantage, who has disadvantage. Just read the tempo, and you can maybe even invest your ultimate. Is not bad choice for sure. If you're trying to secure the point, okay, then after that, yeah, let's just see once it's ended. Yeah, so it's gonna be somewhere,
Got it.
yeah, somewhere over here. Yeah, so same thing probably. You just need to place somebody in the cart, yes. But meantime, anybody can push. You guys can take space. Just be aware of the cart, and afterwards, yes, you will be the one. You will be the one turning around. Well, your teammates can turn around and deal with that, but it's really nice if you can set the tempo. Just go for this early poke damage too, especially with your comp. You never see the poke comp playing on the point in a way. You have to always control the long sightlines in a way. You have to do early damage before the enemy comes to you too. Yeah, they also have some poke capabilities too, right? But it seems you have a little bit more because of the Namor, because of the, well, mainly Namor Mantis, in my opinion, right? If you compare it to all of this here. So
Yeah.
that is something what we have to do 100%. The poke, the uptime is important before the fight starts. Well, again, this is something what you don't have to focus on too much regarding the comms, especially if you don't know people there, and make sure, well, even though you communicate, okay, let's push, maybe we can take space, you should be also able to do your own plays. Well, at least here, maybe we don't have as much damage from this range, right? We kind of move a mid-range character in a way, so you still can maybe do early damage here, but it's not your job to do the too much damage before the fight. Still, at least what you can think about is scouting partially. Yeah, I can get in a position like here, and maybe if the angles get closer, anybody at the mid range, then I can deal with them. I think this is not bad idea.
Makes sense, especially because I just have an extra dash here too that I could just use to get up there.
Yeah, usually, and you see your abilities are sitting there, right? So you have the opportunity to invest something before the fight even starts, and because you get it back, right? So I don't think there's a harm in it. Obviously, we're trying to expect the Daredevil, someone to contest the card too, but yeah, we just your team is doing pretty well with getting all the picks, but it might be different in the other games too. Yeah, who knows? Because you're just trying to find those bits of advantage. Anyway, yeah, this goes okay for us now, but let's see once the enemy team is gonna stop you. By the way, this is a really good push with the 1 minute so far, right? You just made it really far. Yeah, you guys gonna capture this actually? Yeah, you do, right?
We do,
Of the...
yeah. This is double overtime.
Yeah,
that
so
happens in this game.
double overtime. Yeah, so this is a really good time, and this is really good push overall. Anyway, you just need to use the advantage of everything, just whatever you got, a little bit more. Try to push up and take space. Well, do you want to look at the defense a little bit as well, or?
Yeah. The particularly this first defense, because we do waste the whole 3 minutes, but like ultimately they still also full push us.
Yeah, that makes sense too. Alright, so we're pretty much supporting. We have mid-range angle here. That's alright. I really would like people in general, if you guys play poke composition, don't be stuck on the main lane. There's a really lot of flexibility, like using this angle whatsoever, the early damage, another lane. But yeah, anyway, this is you can control the other guys. I think you're the one who can be supporting just whoever is the most aggressive here. Just try to be there, and once the enemy is gonna be closer, you can sneak in the damage there too, obviously. But yeah, let's see.
Part of the struggle I feel like is also just Mantis on defense. I feel that like I'm just having to keep my mag up infinitely, and I have a Mantis as my second support, which isn't terrible, but feels like it's way more suited for pushing than it is for defending. At least in a two support situation. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but
well, yes, but at the same time, we just need to find something, find what we can come up with regarding supporting your team there as well. You know, my question to you is, if we look at this here, right? So far, how many seconds it is, right? We invest like 30 seconds and do a bunch of healing, but our movement has pretty much been not used too much. So this is my question to you. Is there anything you think you can be doing on defense to take advantage of your movement a little bit more here? What are your thoughts?
I'm honestly not too sure. I think normally that like I would want to keep both the right click and the dash rolling at least once, and have one for myself in case something is like getting dove. But realistically, I guess I'm not sure how I'm not forced to basically just be healing my team here. And I don't want to heal bot, but when there's this much damage going out, it feels like even if I were to use movement to try to approach the enemy team more aggressively, it wouldn't change the fact that I still have to be helping my mag here, or I still have to be helping my Elsa.
Yes.
So I don't know what I should be doing, I guess, with the movement here.
Yeah. So the thing is, with our support in general, the way we can think about that, and especially during these times, right, when we just have to burn the time. Yeah, we have to think about just winning. If possible, I think the first point is really nice. If it's possible for us to keep it slightly the enemy busy here, they're really nice chokes to hold. But anyway, let's just go back to the movement. There are two parts of it. We, as a support, either can be supporting directly with whatever you're doing with the healing, or indirectly. And indirect support involves two things: is you doing the damage, and you also destructing the enemy too. And the way it works is, if I'm destructing the enemy team, then the damage is not going towards my team, it's going towards you. And the thing about it is, if we good at dodging and we able to live, so all that damage, then you're doing pretty good job as the support, right? So yes, indeed, we have to also heal, but what you would say? Is there something what it can do in terms of distracting? And maybe dealing the pressure too? Because I don't like the ability sitting there. Yeah, because like you say, yeah, maybe there is something what we can do to come up with if they dive, right? But we also partially need to think about distracting during the fight too. So what do you would say? What can you do?
I guess specifically, I could use. I could. I don't have time to be doing damage, but I could specifically be using the dash to uh just quickly take the aggressive angle near the health pack up there and to the right, like in that corner. It
Hmm.
it forces their team to probably look at me because they
Okay.
would think that I'm out of position. But it also ensures that I'm not just dashing into 6 people and instantly dying.
No, it's also important
Uh,
too.
yeah.
It's for sure.
Maybe I could also dash up to the bridge, but obviously the bridge can break that one. Yeah.
Yep. What about the angle over here? The sideline afterwards. I don't know. Like, I don't know, play it sort of peeking out this way. Maybe we can pick out later this way. What do you would say?
Maybe as they get closer, but I feel like I'm not distracting them if they can't see me. If they don't even know that I'm there, or they have no line of sight on me. If there's not even one person that has line of sight on me, I guess I feel like it's not a relevant distraction. They're just
Yeah.
gonna continue looking forward.
Now, this is the thing. You, as any character in general, the way you distract people is because you're the position. Like, maybe, let's say this here, or you described, okay, what if I'm gonna be somewhere over there, or maybe using the bridge even. The thing about distracting is that you doing a lot of the pressure from the angle where you're at, and if you do, then the enemy have to look at you and they have to deal with you, right? So in theory, if the backline walks, let's say there's gonna be more walking going on towards this side here, right? If I'm able to shoot somebody, this partially may divert some of the attention. Obviously, you have to also confirm, okay, am I able to see my team at all? Yeah, maybe I'm sitting here healing, okay, and then suddenly I shoot a few bullets here, right? So because you have your good range to hit at least two cards, yeah, this is what I think is the most reliable. Probably at least 2 cards should be hit on the enemy, then this is gonna be alright. And this range, yeah, it sort of seems okay. With the mid-range sidelines, we usually should be okay. But that is something what I want you to experiment with and see what are the angles you can take, because the problem is you need to find ways. This is what we call the start of the fight, the neutral, all of this. Just when the fight really starts, you finding ways to play slow and build an advantage. Just try to get an advantage somehow, and using the off angles to your advantage, abusing the fact that you have movement, is a really big idea too, in my opinion. Just trying to make sure they make a mistake. Yeah, make a mistake. Maybe they look at you, they try to push you. But now we're just kind of giving everything in this guy's hands. And yes, he's taking a lot of damage, but we also not, we're not able to control that basically. But if I come up with something what makes the enemy to look at me, then I can control can I live or not. You see what I mean? But you have to come up with something. You have to think. Yeah, it just depends on situation, really. But most of the time, we have to find the angles. We have to find something to distract the enemy if possible. Oh, yeah, does it make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually. I never really considered like doing it on these types of characters, even though I do it all the time when I play Jeff. But it makes a lot more sense because I just like always felt lost when people were taking this much damage. I didn't really.
Yep.
I felt like the situation was completely out of my control, right? people are just like steadily dying because damage does inevitably always outweigh healing. And like the idea of now that I can just like I could basically provide the extra support by just, even though it's a low health amount, but using the 250 health and my movement as that distraction, I feel like helps a lot. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. I just did not consider it on these characters at first.
Yeah, because you do have the mobility. You definitely have to take advantage of it. Maybe it's not too deep angles, and you playing support, but doesn't matter. The idea is still the same. You have the mobility sitting there for entire minutes, something's wrong. That's it. Maybe you don't have to spam it, but you can come up with positioning. Maybe you can take better positions. Maybe you can be rotating more. Yeah, but there's got to be something, especially in the cases where there are just no dive characters to really dive you in a way. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Elsa get close or something, but maybe Kala sometimes, but most of the time,
Yeah.
there's no dive characters, right? So if I have it as a dive cooldown, doesn't make sense either, right? I mean, enter dive cooldown. So I want you to leverage your ability and think what positions you may come up with, and then once the enemies will make a movement, then you can decide what to do afterwards. Anyway, the off angles is gonna be quite nice to look for. Yeah, so using off angles more, use your dash to set up yourself a little bit better. So this way you can establish the initial advantage here. But by the way, the people, if you win this first fight, I think you can stop them for a while. It sets a lot of tempo too. Usually the first fights here are really important. If we're talking about the strategies, just what do we do? Yeah, because now these guys, they probably will have the tempo, same as you, they push really forward, and then what happens afterwards is you guys, generally speaking, yeah, it's not a bad idea to try to build 6 ultimates, but you also need to think about if you really have a big advantage, maybe already investing even just 2-3 ultimates is not bad idea either. But you have to really rely on getting a pick then. Yeah, you have to rely on, okay, if we get a pick, then let's take advantage of that somehow, and we can use that. But if you guys keep getting staggered, then this is a big deal. But my question is, can we do something if we get staggered to force some attention on us partially, right? So because that is something what you can control. Maybe this can be your overtime strategy in a way, yeah? Because this seems not this is not no, this is not good, right? There's just so much stuff happening here.
There's just a bunch of people dying.
Yeah, this is exactly might be a little bit difficult. I see this little angle here, by the way, not bad idea. Yeah, you're on the off angle, something happens. Maybe if we get the attention bait partially, that's already nice. We have the abilities to sustain us. We have the movement later. You know, so maybe this can be a great help. But yeah, it's also this another idea we talked about. Be careful with stepping on the point unless there's a real need to do so. They still need to get the pick, I mean, get the tick, and you still have the Kibbles as a tank on the point, so just maybe find a way to do, I don't know, something. It's probably look for the trade, or maybe wait a little bit even, and then touch the point. It's gonna be not a bad idea, but yeah, anyway. You guys probably will lose it, but still, something to keep in mind. Make sure there's constant dilemma as long as possible. At the last second, we can try to touch and do something there. Yeah, but I think for the most part, it's we mentioned quite a lot. Yeah, I don't know. Do you have any questions? Maybe anything what you want to know a little bit more about it so far, or
I guess just, do you think that probably the fact that like I'm not distracting people leads to my thought process that I am playing too passive, right? Because I'm not using these movement tools to basically apply like aggressive angles, or like
that's
would you say that's like valid?
that's definitely part of it, right? If our abilities, if you have the movement opportunities and we're not using that as a tool in a way, like I said, it can be done 2 ways, supporting 2 ways, and the most people are really focusing on this direct sort of direct support approach. Just start killing people. This game, you have a lot of sustain. That's why a lot of the times people get away with that. But the top support, they also have to come up with a plan what to do in terms of distracting people. A little bit, at least a little bit, like you said on the Jeff, yeah. It's just the greediness and the scale of it. It depends on the character. If you have the mobility, you definitely you can distract, right? If you don't have any ability at all, mobility at all, then well, maybe you can be less distracting. But think about utility. What do you do with that? Mm. And these women don't have too much mobility. You still can take slight off angles, just not too hard off angles, and mostly focus on your utility. What do you do with the push and pull? Maybe even taking advantage of your shield, and this allows you to stay in the off angle. But yeah, it's definitely make sure that you using your resources to position yourself a little bit more. And this way, divert the enemy attention. Yeah, does it make sense?
I think that makes sense. And I mean, I think it also makes sense that, like, when you mention, like, specifically that they're on a poke composition as well. And I find that realistically, I don't play into poke compositions, like full poke compositions like this, as often as I used to. And so I'm used to maybe playing that far back, I guess, just because they're usually on dive, and I feel like playing against dive is just all about surviving the situation
Yeah,
first.
yeah, makes sense. Mm-hmm.
So maybe I just like I need to like I guess I just feel like I need to like differentiate between like which kind of compositions I'm playing against when I'm playing these certain characters, that it's not like I can swap from Gambit to Luna here for a better time. My team still kind of needs the Gambit, but but like understanding that like I can play Gambit in a different way versus this type of composition.
Yeah,
Even if it's
yep.
unorthodox, makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, yeah. Even against the dive, a lot of the times what I tell people, and that's this entire Overwatch series as well. If they have divers, that doesn't mean you have to stack too much. You can deal with divers earlier before they come to you. And maybe there's something what you can do with your own off angles, just not being too far. You don't want to be too isolated. Maybe you can partially shoot the divers a little bit, and if they really commit on you, then you can use the dash as escape tool. But first of all, come up with the positions which allow you to do meaningful pressure and heal your teammates as well at the same time. It's gonna be really important in our case. I think most of it is gonna be this. Yeah, let's actually summarize. We mentioned quite a lot of stuff today, so yeah, what do you say? What are the main ideas you need to focus on so far?
So first and foremost, making sure that I'm using, I guess, the tools in my character's kits to apply pressure beyond just damage to the enemy team. Like you said, distracting, but also, I mean, even scouting in some cases, right? Giving information first to my team, I feel like is pretty important, especially on a composition and for taking the proper off angles. Um, Number two, I feel that I definitely, at least here on this the first point, like I stepped up onto like the objective too often rather than just hanging around the objective, and it led to me getting punished a lot more in some cases. And then number three, just like making sure that I'm maybe taking greater risks, but for greater like rewards and faster play when overtime starts, to ensure that we get as many fights as possible. I think those are the three major things that I can that I can think like we covered today.
Yeah, yeah. I would say this is pretty good, especially for the attacker side, right? Set up your own tempo, scouting, power positions. Yeah, I think good idea, especially in tournaments, to solve the enemy aim a little bit. Take two fights, yes. First fight, go really aggro. Okay, it didn't work. Let's have the second fight. But yeah, it's obviously depends. on the team you play with, and ranked it may not work, so maybe it's just fine to go with general approach, but anyway, still try your best and see what you can do. Now the attack, I mean the defense, especially defense, but still can be done on the attack. Take advantage of your movement a little bit more, set up yourself on the off angles more. Yeah, like you said, should be fine. And just don't forget, you can look at it two ways. Yep. Are you playing fast right now? Do you have an advantage which you can use? So this translates into you taking space typically. And playing slow is all about getting an advantage, and get an advantage that may mean let's get this additional off angle. Let's maybe try to bait an enemy to do something, just besides only supporting my active teammate, yeah, only healing them. There's a lot of stuff like that. So I think this can be the good start. This should be really, really good.